rap news, street politics, best hood channel on YouTube, and this is How to Read Gang Graffiti. Now, we got a lot of members on our channel. We got a lot of people that's active in the streets. We got a lot of people that's not active in the streets that live in the hood, though. And we got a good amount of people that don't live in the hood, don't be in the hood, but still want to see how the hood operates, how gangs move around, how gangs operate, and how they control and push a line within a territory. And one of the oldest ways to do that, man, has always been graffiti, especially in LA. So, we break a lot of hoods down on this channel. We be in a lot of sections, especially when we talk about some of the most deadliest gangs in certain sections. And the things that we show is a lot of hit-ups on the wall. And being able to read the walls when you in certain sections throughout the city, and a lot of this is relative to outside of LA too, but of course we're gonna be breaking down LA shit. Being able to read the walls can take you kind of far when you operating in certain hoods and certain sections. Knowing your surroundings is very important, especially when you in the hood. So this is why we're gonna be breaking down how to read different gang hit-ups, how to know where you at, whether you in a blood hood, a Crip hood, or a Sureño hood, and also how to tell if this is a gang area or if this just some hit-ups from a crew or a clique that's not gang affiliated. So let's get right to it, man. First, we're gonna get into how to tell if this is gang graffiti. There's a couple different ways you can tell if what you're seeing on the wall is actual hood or not. Then there's also like a racial divide in that as well. So you'll have certain indicators from black gangs, and then within the black gang structure, there's gonna be different ways to tell if it's a blood or a Crip hood or a Paru hood. And then for Sureño gangs, there's certain indicators to let you know that this gang is rolling with the 13. So to jump it off, we see right here that you can clearly read, it say Florencia, right in the middle. But on the end of the Florencia, we see like an X or what could be seen as an asterisk, but we see it as a 3 right under that. So that X3 right there is already gonna let you know that this is a Sureño hood that you're looking at. Southside hoods are gonna be aligned with the 13. Now, not all of them are going to include the 3 in their hit-ups. And there's some gangs, some Southside hoods that may look confusing as well with the numbers they write. We're going to get into them too. But this is the dead giveaway to identify you in the gang territory right here based on the writing. Florencia X3. Now, it's multiple ways that this 13 can be written. And aside from the X3, one of the most common ways we see is the Mayan or the Aztec 13. Where you're going to have these 3 circles followed by 2 lines underneath them. As you see right here with Eastside Longo 13, they're not coming out and saying X3 or 13. They're using the symbol 13 to, again, show you that this is a Sureño hood. This is a gang. And that symbol is important because to people who may not know what's really going on, they may see ESL and feel like, okay, what is that? There could be cliques named ESL or little tagging crews named ESL, but that symbol right there lets you know this is an actual set. You know what I'm saying? And it's very common for different hoods, like this one right here, Eastside MCF. You see they use it a lot as well. Like I said, it's a lot of hoods that's really not even gonna put the 13. A lot of dudes is rocking with this symbol right here. Now, another way you could also identify a Sureño set is by the vario, the V that you may see in the beginning of the whole writing, like we see right here with Lil Valley. The vario or the barrio is the neighborhood. So this is basically saying this is Lil Valley's neighborhood. You see the X3 with Lil Valley, so that's a dead giveaway. But the vario itself is gonna let you know that this is a gang. Little tagging crews and cliques, shit like that, they're not gonna be a vario. So they're not gonna have this prefix on the beginning of the hit up. You know what I'm saying? We see the same thing right here with Vadio King Cobra. Now, we also see here that they fully wrote out the 13, but the actual set is called Vadio King Cobra, not just King Cobra. And here you got Loco Park spelling Vadio out. So you don't have to look for the V at the beginning of the hit up. You see the 13. Right here, we see Vadio Loco Park Trece. So not only are they letting you know that this is Loco Park Hood, but they're also aligned with the Sureño card. Now, the main thing about hit-ups The main word I'm gonna say is about location. Location is gonna be everything when reading these hit-ups, man. So when we go to Compton, we don't see just the V or the X3. We see CV, we see Compton Vadio. Very distinctive to the Compton Vadios, man. As you can see here, we got CVL36, Compton Vadio Largo 36. So they don't have to put that 3 on there because we know it's a Vadio. It's different ways that these dudes can hit it up and still make their presence felt. Now, another common precursor that'll be on the front end of a hit up, aside from Vadio, maybe South Side as well. It's a lot of hoods that have East Side, West Side, even South Central as the precursor. But South Side is also going to be indicative of a South Side hood, not just the southern part of the city. So we see a lot of Hispanic gangs will hit this South Side up, like we see right here with Grape Street, Florencia, and BKM. This double S can also represent this being a South Sider hood or a Sudaño hood. Now, just like the Hispanic gangs, we got multiple ways that we can identify the black gangs. Bloods, Crips, Hoovers, Pirus, they all have different identifiers in their hit-ups, so you be able to tell what set you in when you land over there. Now, you see right here, we got a lot going on in this hit-up. And just to let people know, the color of the can don't matter, man. Bloods can hit up in blue, Crips can hit up in red. Whatever can you got at your disposal is gonna be used. Now, of course, somebody would like to hit up in their hood colors or whatever. They may seek them colors out, but it really don't matter. Now, with the Crips, you know we got different cars. We got the neighborhoods, we got the mafias, we got the gangsters, and there's also sets that are just Crip gangs. Some may hang with neighborhoods, some may hang with gangsters. You know, it's a lot going on with the Crippin'. But right here, we can clearly see that this is a neighborhood hit up. Number one, in the black, we see the NH right there with the H whacked out. So that's gonna automatically tell us this is a neighborhood Crip set. And we also got the fingers, man. The hand's gonna be something that a lot of people enjoy seeing in the hit ups. You know what I'm saying? The creativity that goes behind the hand sign on the actual hit up is something that's always looked forward to. But we see here, them 2 fingers and a thumb. That's gonna be the neighborhood Crip hand sign. So if you didn't see this NH right there, you're gonna see these 2 fingers and a thumb right here showing you that this is a neighborhood Crip hit up. And to further decipher exactly what neighborhood Crip gang it is, we see these ECs and we see this coast right here with the arrow pointing down to the ground. So this coast with the arrow is basically saying this is Coast territory right here. Pointing down to the ground, that's the turf right there for them. And we see 5 ECs in this. We see the blue EC with the bandana on top of the C. We see the EC on top of that with the 7-6 in the C. We're gonna get down to what that represents, what the numbers inside that C is. We see block Crip, and instead of the block being spelled with 2 C's, it's spelled as EC. And we actually gonna see 2 more ECs in the name, Evil Blue with the C at the end, and underneath that we got Eastside 89 EC. So it's damn near impossible to miss that this hood is named EC for East Coast Crip. And as you see right here with this next hit up, we see E with 2 C's. Now we know the Compton Crip hoods really have 2 C's in their name, but there's only one neighborhood Compton Crip set. And why I say neighborhood is because if you look in this O of this Q102, you're gonna see that same neighborhood with the H whacked out as we seen in the last neighborhood Crip hit up. So now you can assess, again, if you're not in Compton, like I said, location is everything. It's safe to say this is another East Coast Crip hood, especially being near 102nd Street. And we gonna get into these streets as well in these hit ups. Now, like we said, this is what a neighborhood hit up will look like. Very obvious, the NH is there. We even see the fingers. Now, Gangster Crips are gonna have different identifiers than neighborhood Crips. Historically, Gangster Crips has been known to beef with neighborhood Crips. So just how we saw neighborhoods whacking out that H, dissing the Hoovers, we see right here the Avalon Gangster Crips dissing the neighborhoods with the N being whacked out. Now, the main thing you're gonna see with Gangster Crip hit ups are this GC. You also gonna see a 3, but the key difference with this 3 is you're gonna see an X behind the 3. So basically saying it's 3 times Trey times, which is the card that the gangsters move under. So it's gonna be the neighborhood Crip card or the Gangster Crip / Trey card that's being depicted. And with that 3, man, it's not to be confused with the Southside 3. The Southsiders write X3 to show an inclusion or an alliance with the 13. So the X3 is going to be different than the 3X. So that's going to be a very key thing to be looking at when you seeing hit-ups. But as you see here, there's multiple GCs that go along with it. We got right here the Avalon Gangster Crips, 10 Line Gangster Crips, Eastside 48 Gangster Crips, 4 Trey Gangster Crips, Broadway Gangster Crips. These is all going to be Gangster Crip sets. But on the streets, not everybody's going to be tied in with that Gangster Crip movement, that Trey gang movement. Like all the neighborhoods is in one movement. The neighborhoods fuck with the neighborhoods, but it's some Trey gangs that's also going to fuck with the neighborhood card. But that's going to be for another video. The basis of this shit is just to show the differences of Crip gangs. And before we go any further, we got to give a shout out to our sponsor, man, the Bentley Bay meme coin. They still operating in the meme space, and it's still time to get in. We've seen our investment grow and level out. It's not a pump and dump. We really holding on to this coin for the long term, man. Y'all got to still get in it. We done watched our initial investment go over 10x, and we rose to all-time highs of about an $800,000 market cap. We still holding on. Tap in with us if y'all want to know how to get some. Make an investment to grow your wallet, man. Shout out to the Bentley Bay meme coin. Now, another Crip hit-up that doesn't necessarily display these neighborhood Crip or Gangster Crip aspects is going to be this one right here, Imperial Village Crip. Now, we see the IVC, but we don't see no NHs. We don't see no Gangster Crips, no G before the C, but something that's going to be indicative of this being a Crip hit-up is the 1 and the C. So that 1 is going to basically say or represent that the Crippin' comes first. That the Crippin' is basically at the top of the totem pole. That's what they trying to say when they putting that 1 in the C. The C is not whacked out, but this is how you gonna tell without seeing those other obvious elements that this is a Crip hit-up. But the 1 is something that's gonna be very common in a lot of hit-ups. As we see right here, we got Front Street Watts Crip, another 1 in the C. And right here with East Coast, the 1 is in the C again. So this is how you can tell if what you see on the wall is representing some Crippin'. Now again, that 1 inside of a letter is going to be very common. The Bloods are going to use it too, as you see right here with this Bounty Hunter hit up. Now this hit up is not necessarily saying exactly what hood this is. But once again, location will give you all the tools you need. This is in Watson. This hit up was on Compton Avenue. That's going to be right in the middle of Bounty Hunter hood, right outside the Nickerson Gardens. So we told y'all that 1 inside the B is basically them saying there's nothing above the B. The B is number 1 on the totem pole. And we see this NG inside of this H. So we've already deciphered that this is a blood hood, and the NG is going to represent the Nickerson Gardens, what's across the street from this hit up. So that's how we can see that this is Eastside Bounty Hunter. Without it saying Bounty Hunter or Watts or anything like that. You just got to know where you at. And you see the G is crossed out again. This is Watts. So that G being crossed out is going to represent they beef with Grape Street. Now another type of blood hit up is going to look something like this, where you got everything spelled out right here with the Bloods right in front of your face, or like this. We see this whole thing is going to end with the B. So we have MFSB. And right before that, there's a C that's whacked out. And underneath that, there's another C that's whacked out. So we can say whatever hood this is, they're beefing with Crips. That may not be all the way true. It could be a hood that starts with a C that's not a Crip. But we're gathering evidence to see exactly what hood we in. So we see the CK, and now we see the B at the end of this MFSB. Now there's no 1 in the B, but location again will tell you this is the Family Swans. And that MF on the front is basically going to be a collective of both Swan sets, the Mad Family Swan Bloods. So this hit up is also showing an alliance, in which we will get to later as well when we talk about hoods hitting up together. Now, just like with the Compton videos, the gang banging with the black gangs and they writing on the wall gets different as well. So as you can see right here, this starts off with a 227. Now we have words after this 227, but the 227 alone will tell you what hood this is. Now this is predominantly a thing with East Side Piru sets, where you have these 3 numbers that represent the hood alone. So this 227, as we can see, is representing Cross Atlantic Piru. Now I don't know the exact origins on how these East Side Piru hoods started using these numbers to identify themselves. But if you take out your phone and you type in 227, with the lettering, you're gonna see it spells out CAP for Cross Atlantic Piru. Across from them, you're gonna have the Mob Pirus, also known as 662, which is gonna spell out MOB for the Mob. You got Ludus Park, 577, LPP. You got Elm Street, 356. Is gonna spell out Elm. And you got the Hollywood Pirus, 447, which is gonna spell out HHP for Hollywood Piru. So these numbers alone, without any other writing, again, location-wise, on the east side of Compton or in Compton, period, maybe outside of Compton, depending on where these dudes move around and hit up, that's just not the measurements on the wall. These are actually gonna mean the Piru sets. So that's some sneaky shit that be slid out. If you in Compton and you see a 227 on the wall, you gotta be mindful of what that means and what that is. Again, this is for people who need to be moving right in these streets, man, or may come to LA and may not know exactly what's going on out here. Now, the Pirus are not gonna be the only hood that have like ominous symbols that describe their set. As you see right here, this is something that you may see across LA, especially in that MacArthur Park, East Hollywood area. And it may be alone, just like it is right here. This is MS-13. This is their hand sign, but it's so recognizable throughout the city that just striking this up will let people know what hood they in. Now, they will have it like this, where it's with they hood, just like the Piru hoods, where they have the number and the name of the hood. But again, this symbol alone will let you know what area you in. The same goes for the rabbit as well. With a hit up like this, it's extremely self-explanatory. Rabbits on the wall is gonna be Playboy 13. They also go by Rabbit Gang. So this is why they don't have to spell it out with writing Playboy or PBS or even a 13 on it. This is a symbol that's synonymous with they hood. It's not just to be playing around on the wall. And this is something that you actually will see a lot of on the east side and the west side in LA. But now we gotta get into how to read the name of the person doing the hit up. Now, some people argue and say the person who did the hit up and put their name on it is really what you want to be looking at. It's not about the hood, it's about the person who did it and who they whacking out. And you know, people really put their name on it because they want their enemies to know that they're not playing. It's basically saying, whoop-de-whoop did it, and what you gonna do about it? Now, it's multiple ways that dudes taunt each other on the walls, and this is one of them. So we see that this is an East Side Kitchen Crip hit up. But right in the middle of it, we see Infant Slip Rock. Now, whoever know Infant Slip Rock, man, shout him out. Tell him he finally made it. You know what I'm saying? But he want people to see who did it. Now, a lot of times, even if it's just one man hit up, they'll also do something like this where we see like a roll call of homies. Now, this is from Whitmer Street over in Westlake. We see that's Pot, Siete, Blanks, Louie, Enemy, Bugsy. Now, all these dudes don't have to be present. Some of these dudes can be locked down. We don't see no RIPs, so it looked like all these dudes is above ground. But this is what's called like a roll call for the homies, where it could have been one or two dudes striking up, and they say, you know what, let's shout out all the homies that's either in their clique, and we're gonna get into how to identify the cliques, or just dudes that they fuck with overall. And instead of writing their name, they also may just shout out some of their fallen homies. You know, some dudes that may have been dear to the hood, like we see right here with Acacia Block. So we got Acacia in Peace, Polo, and KO. Or it may be a AIP Polo, as we see right here. Now, this is very common in a lot of hoods where the R will be replaced for the set. So in this case, we got Acacia in Peace. If it's Inglewood family, we may have FIP. If it's East Coast, we may see an ECIP. So this is also something that'll let you know that the writing is gang affiliated when certain homies is getting shouted out a certain way. Now, another key thing that goes along with hit ups is something that really probably holds the most weight when it comes to the writing on the wall is how to tell which gangs are currently beefing. Now, the whackouts can tell multiple different stories in terms of hoods that's been beefing for generations and a constant divide on certain blocks, or it can let people know what is recently cracked off based on who's getting whacked out. Now, the key thing is the whackouts is kind of levels to this shit. You know, you have the basic whackouts like we see right here. We see 68th Street East Coast Crip. The most basic whackout you're gonna have is a K behind your enemy. We see they dissing the Swans and they dissing the Hoovers, where you see the MSB, FSB, and HCG with the K behind it. Now, the K is just insinuating that they ready to put in work on their enemies. Or, you know what I'm saying, they want smoke with the enemy. But I will call this right here just a basic, I'm going to do my shit on the wall and I'm going to keep my day going type of whackout. And then you'll have some real confusing whackouts. When you see it, you don't really know what's going on. Like we see right here with the Weemas. And the Weemas situation is really going to be something that not a lot of people are going to understand because it's three hoods with all the same name. Different hoods though, north side, east side, and west side Weemas. So we see here, we got Vadio east side Weemas that hit up first. And in the midst of they hit up, they whacked out the north side Weemas. So the north side Weemas come, wipe out whatever east side Weemas put, diss them at the bottom with the K on it, and then we see like the next level that you take it to on the wall when dissing your enemies, where at the top, they decide to write never outside. So that never outside is insinuating the common thing that we see on the wall as well, playing ball. So the taunting can go to where they want to see their enemies, they want to draw them out, you know, they going back and forth with it. This can insinuate that it's extremely popping in this area. Not saying that it's more popping just because the dissing on the wall may be more aggressive. But you know, when you talking shit, especially where everybody can see it on the street, man, you start to take risks to let your enemies know that you are outside. And that's what leads to so many tragic events in the city. Now, we'll also have some dissing that kind of gets creative, like we see right here with Whitmer Street, where we see the WST in red. It's whacked out by their enemies, so they came back in the black paint, wrote Whitmer Street again, but this time they flipped the R upside down. That's for their beef with Rockwood Street Locos. Now, it don't necessarily have to be a whackout or whatever. You see how they did it right here. Still saying we don't want nothing to do with that R even in our name, just because of they beef with Rockwood Street Locos. And now to a level where it gets extremely aggressive, where we could be talking about some heavy on-site gunplay involved, where the area may be extremely dangerous, is what we see right here between Azalon 13 and Florencia 13, where Azalon has wrote some of their favorite members who have passed on the wall, and Florencia has came and disrespected them to the highest degree. So things like this really keep the beef alive in the streets with these whackouts. And then you'll have also other subtle ways that people whack out their enemies, like we see with dead end harpies right here. So everything looks nice and clean with just the dead end harpies, 28th Street Dukes. But if we zoom in closer, we see Blanco. Assuming that he's the one that put this up, we see the Blanco is spelled with a CK. Now it's like, okay, why? We don't really see nothing else. But if you look deeper, we see they whacking out the rolling 30 Crips. We know the Harpies is cool with the 20 Bloods, and they've been known to beef with the 30 Crips. So, you know, some things that you may miss in the hit up. These disses come in many ways, shapes, and forms, man. Now, the next thing we're going to get into is how to identify the clique in the hit up. Now, a very common thing that we see in these hit ups is going to be the clique or the street that's represented by the set. Every hood is going to have a block that they operate on. Sometimes that block is the clique, and sometimes they'll have a block and they'll have cliques on that block. Now, that'll look something like this right here. We see we got F13, we got MSBZ, and we got 70. Now, that 70 is representing 70th Street. That's going to be a block that F13 is controlling. Now, on that block, they got the MSBZ clique, which is going to be the Midnight Street Boys on that block. We see here we got MSBZ with the 70 on it, and now we got the 76 with the MLS. So these is two different blocks that's being controlled, 70th, and now they represent 76th Street with the MLS clique. That's going to be the Malos clique. That's on 76th Street. And you see them here, again, these dudes want to play ball, so they going as the 76ers. But again, repping 76th Street with the MLS clique. Now, the Southside hoods are really known to push the cliques heavy, along with the blocks. But some Southside hoods have so many different cliques, they can also represent generations in the hood. So we see right here with Vadio 38th Street, we got the NLS clique, SCLS clique, and the PWS clique. That's going to be the Night Owls, the South Central Locos, and the Pee-wees. So like I said, some of them cliques can represent certain generations in their hood. Some dudes may not be able to join certain cliques because their generation is past. Now, Southside and Black hoods are both going to have cliques, but they represented in different ways. Most of the time we see the blocks being the clique of the black gangs, but trust me, on them blocks there are cliques as well. Just like Southside gangs that have Pee-wee Locos or the Diablos, there's certain cliques that be inside these black gangs, but they aren't advertised like the Hispanic gangs advertise they subsets. You know what I'm saying? So like we see here with the Rolling 20 Bloods, we got the 2-5 next to the T. They represent 25th Street. We don't see no clique or anything that they call themselves. Most of the time, the inner cliques of the black gangs are gonna be kind of more low key, not really secretive, but like it's not gonna be on Front Street what these dudes really call themselves, like a hood starting 5, or you know, it may be 10, 15 homies from 25th Street, but they may have a separate name within their hood. You know what I'm saying? But on the outside, they repping 25th Street. That's the main clique. The same we see here with Northside Mac Mafia in Long Beach. They repping 6-7, 67th Street on the north side of Long Beach. But again, you're not seeing no subset on this block being wrote. And then, you know, the creativity never stops, especially with a hit up like this where you have June, July, and August. So as you see here with June, in that C you got 6 Deuce, 6-6, 6-8, 6-9. Those are the main blocks that are going to make up the 6-pack of East Coast Crip. Now, with June being the 6th month of the year, this is how the hood day is derived. June 2nd, June 6th, June 8th, June 9th. These are 6-pack East Coast hood days. So not only is this hit up indicative of the cliques or the blocks that East Coast is representing, they took it a step further to call out their hood month. And the same goes for these July and August hit-ups as well, with 7-6 East Coast on 76th Street being represented by July 6th and 89th Street East Coast being represented by August 9th. Now, another thing that we're going to be able to see from these hit-ups is hoods that aren't beefing, hoods that are not at war right now with each other, because we see a double hit-up with no whackouts. We see they hitting up together. So like we see right here with Compton Body on Los Padrinos and CV70. This was actually in CV70 hood, like on their main block. We see Los Padrinos over here, they come through, and these dudes is able to coexist together without whacking each other out. That'll let you know right there that it's no beef between them two. They may be clicked up, you know what I'm saying? They may be real tight-knit, or some dudes from Los Padrinos was just over there kicking it and hit up with them. You see the same thing right here with F13 and East Coast. Now, we've talked about this many times on this channel. This was a deadly war. This hit up is a little, you know what I'm saying? It's rough because this hit up right here was actually on 87, right in 89 East Coast hood. So we see East Coast doing the roll call, and we see F13 come through, right they shit. Nobody's whacking anybody out. Even though it looks like F13 is riding over shit, it's cool. No whackouts. And again, we see right here, we see F13 and we see Eastside Kitchen coexisting together. So again, no beef, no whackouts. It's safe to say if you see two sets hitting up like this, that they cool. Not necessarily saying they clicked up, but they're not at each other's necks right now. Now, the next thing we're going to get into is when to know it's time to move around when you see a hit up. It's multiple different indicators that you'll realize that this is probably a section that you probably shouldn't be kicking it in if you ain't over here or if you ain't ready for no bullshit. Number one, the white vans. Now, when you see these hit ups on the white van, man, these vans have been there for so long, these dudes just struck this truck up to the max. But the key thing, most of the time, when these white vans is hit up like this, they gonna be in the middle of somebody's hood. This is probably the main block that this hood is gonna be on. That's why this van is struck up like this. Now, that's like 90% of the time, man. This gonna be somebody's main block. And it's best to probably move around when you see this. Second is when you see the store blasted up before you walk in there. We see right here with the Swans, whacking out Barrio Mojados, the kitchens right here at Hooper Market, and Eastside 13 taking their time on this piece outside the liquor store. You probably shouldn't walk up in here. This as well is probably gonna be in the middle of somebody's hood. That means a very active spot. And if you wanna avoid the bullshit, these is the hit up spots you should avoid. Next, we got the hit ups on the houses. If a bitch telling you to pull up over there and her apartment complex look like this is probably the best time to move the fuck around. We see Temple Street had their whole shit blasted up. Cam do the same in they hood. Crazy riders and crazy ass rascals blew this apartment building up. These are the areas that you do not want to go meet a bitch at if her building look like this. And last but not least, the candle lights, man. If you know you in somebody's hood, you on a block, it's probably not best to be kicking it by the candle lights. 9 out of 10 times somebody has been dropped there. And for that time being, it's probably a hotspot zone. So it's best to move around when you see this shit, man. Again, this was rap news and street politics, how to read gang graffiti. Now, this shit can go on forever. It's so many different things and details that you can touch on when speaking on different hit-ups from different sets in different parts of the city. But we had to give y'all the basics of this shit, man. Y'all make sure y'all follow us, subscribe, like, comment, hit us up on Instagram. We still on the road to 100K. We got the membership popping. We gonna be dropping shit for the members. We about to go up, man. Y'all stay tapped in with us.